Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to my YouTube channel, you're very much welcome. Subscribe, like my videos, comment, leave a comment, let me know how you think my videos are, and let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much for coming back. Continue watching. And so guys, in today's video, I'm going to talk about how to find your first accommodation in Australia when you're pretty new as an international student. There are various places where you can stay, and normally most people prefer people live differently depending on the cost of the living, the cost of the accommodation, how far the place is from your college, whether you have a car or you don't, if you're using public transport. So there are so many things to consider before you select somewhere to live. But then at some point, when you're very new, you don't have an option. It's hard to even decide. Unless you get here, that's when you can pick and choose. Sometimes it's very hard to pick and choose when you're back in your country. So you just, and if you have to organize for an accommodation when you're still in your country, normally you don't choose where you want to stay. You just pick and accept where you get offered, you get the offer. So guys, there are different accommodation options, as I mentioned, and one is accommodation at the university. So most universities have accommodation. They have their own accommodation, whereby if you're coming to Australia, they'll offer you that they'll contact you, the accommodation staff, they'll contact you and ask you if you have an accommodation, and if you don't have, they are happy to offer you the accommodation. But the accommodation at the university tends to be a little bit pricey, but the good thing with living at the campus is you're close to the uni. You don't need to use any transport. You don't need to use money to pay for public transport or buy a car for most people. But then if you don't have the money, you tend to live away from the campus. So normally if you live at a campus accommodation, you might pay maybe from around $250 a week, which is quite pricey considering that at that time you're still a student, you don't have a job, you're pretty new, and maybe you didn't bring a lot of money from back from your country, from where you came from. And then the other thing with the university accommodation, you might need to pay extra to use amenities like washing machine. And then the other thing, you share amenities amongst so many people. Like for example, there'll be these hostels and you'll be sharing like washrooms, like a whole, it's like boarding school basically. You share the toilets, you share the bathrooms, you share the kitchen, and then so you have to take turns to cook. So it gets really, really hard sometimes to even balance yourself. So, but again, it's good if you have the money. It will be very convenient for you. You won't need to worry about so many stuff like transport and all that kind of stuff. Then the other option for you to get accommodation is through Airbnb. So normally you can get Airbnb booking when you're still back in your country, just online, and then it will be very easy for you to stay at Airbnb for like 25 or 30 days. Then while you're there, you'll be looking for an accommodation maybe close to the campus or elsewhere where it will be cheaper, because it will not be easy for you to live in an Airbnb for long. So it will be easier for you to live in an Airbnb for a while. Then while you're there, go for inspections of properties. Try to look for properties or rooms where you can find them. Ask people, and then when you go to school, it's easy. You'll be discussing with your friends or your classmates, and then you'll be asking them if they know any room, someone who has a room. or someone who has a house they want to rent. So it will be easy for you while you're having somewhere to live, then you'll have you'll get somewhere else later. The other thing for another option where you can get, or how you can get an accommodation, it is through your agencies. So majority of the people coming from overseas and coming to Australia, okay, for example, coming as a student, most of us used education agencies. So most schools recommend you, even if you start making applications for yourself, they will recommend you to use an agency. They prefer to deal with an agency than dealing with individuals. Like, you can't, it's hard. I don't know if anyone has done that before, but it's hard for you to make applications on yourself. So they prefer to use an agency. So the agencies that you're using to bring you here, most of them have connections. Like, for example, the agency that I used, they have connections here, and they also have a branch here, so they have connections with hostels, and maybe you can get discounts if you use the agencies to book for a hostel. The good thing with this is some of the agency, they might send someone to come pick you up at the airport. Like the agency I used, they'll pick you at the airport and take you to the hostel, and then you orientate you around, help you get a SIM card, like a mobile SIM card. They'll show you around, they'll tell you this is the public transport, they get you a public transport concession card, the card that we used to in the buses and the trains and the trams. So it's very easy. If you don't have another option, it's very good for you to talk to your agency. They might have a connection. Another thing, the same people, the same agencies, they might know other students who've come earlier. If they don't have any connection with Australia, they might have connections with their other students, and they might have contacts. So it's good if you can ask your agency to contact their previous students who came earlier, and maybe ask them to help you get a room, or maybe they might have a room they're renting, and so it will be easier for you to just come in, and maybe these students might even offer to pick you up from the airport. And then another thing is, if you know people here, definitely it will be very easy for you to get an accommodation if you know someone, or if you have family or friends. So it will be very, very easy for you to find accommodation. The other thing, guys, there are different platforms where you can get accommodation. One is Facebook Market. So Facebook Market is widely used to advertise for rental properties, rental rooms. So you can hop on the Facebook Market and check for available rooms in Australia, and then you might look for the state you're going to, check, and it will be easy for you to get a room there. There's another app called Gumtree, and I'm going to link it there. Gumtree is also another good platform for you to get a rental property or a rental room. It will be very, very easy. They'll post the pictures there of the room. They'll say the condition of the room. They'll say what they have, whether they have washing machines, or you have to share they'll specify what exactly you will share and not what we will not share. Then the other platform is flatmates.com. This one is a website as well. You can hop there and you can get a room or a rental property. The other one is sharedhouse.com. This one is also a good one. You can hop there before you come here and look for a rental property. You'll talk to maybe the landlord or the agents. And then, guys, be careful when using these online websites. Sometimes be careful, especially if they start asking you for lots of bonds, because some will ask you for bonds, but it's very important that you do your due diligence before paying money to any agents or any person online, because some people are con people. They just con. They are here to con vulnerable people or people who don't know. So be very careful and be mindful when paying people your money. Then, guys, there are things to consider, as I started saying, things to consider while choosing an accommodation. One, how close is the accommodation how close is the house or accommodation to your school? What's the proximity from the house to your school? Is it somewhere you can commute? Is it somewhere you need to get a house where it's close to the public transport? Get a house where again, it depends with your uni. Before you get an accommodation, look at your uni. Check how many days do you need to go to school, because if you have to go to school every day, then you need to get a house at least closer to your house. Again, you need to get a house that is close to the public transport. The public transport here are like buses, trains and tram. So if you can get a house that is close to a public transport, that will be very, very good for you, and that will save you a lot of time on the roads. That will save you a lot of money. If you can't use a public transport, that means you'll use maybe taxis, and it's a lot of money to use taxis, especially when you're very new. And even if you're not new, it's a lot of money using taxis to go to work every day. It's a lot of money, so you need to be very, very careful there. Check where you're going, check who you're going to live with. Again, sometimes it's very hard to know the kind of people you're going to live with, because most of the houses here, for students especially, people share a room. Okay, share a room or share an accommodation. For example, one house you might get that has a 3-bedroom, for example, you might get 3 different people from 3 different backgrounds, 3 different countries. You don't know each other, you just meet in that house. So it's very, very sometimes it's hard to even live with people, but it will save you a lot of money at the same time. Sometimes you can get very good people as well, so it just depends with your luck. It's luck actually. But anyway, most people tend to be okay. They mind their businesses. The only thing is that maybe you have to share the kitchen, you have to share the washing machine, but that is much better, because you're sharing the kitchen maybe between 3 people or 4 people, max maybe 5. So that is much better than the hostels. Again, you have to make maybe local arrangement, how to clean the house, how to clean the kitchen. Some people like to use the kitchen and they don't clean after themselves. So it's actually a dynamic where you have to agree. You have maybe to sit down and agree on what has what. Yeah, so guys, all the best, guys, if you're planning to come to Australia. Guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you've not subscribed. I love you so much. You've been very supportive. Continue supporting me, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.